live. Okay. Well, do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening, and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originates from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire, fun, and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening, or you would like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up. In about 12 minutes from now, it's been 2 months since we have had him on this show, but he is back and better than ever and carrying the balance of the first hour. Creator of AmazingRibs.com, Meathead, is back at it. Now, saying that Meathead is carrying the balance of the first hour means that for the first time in 2024, Robert Moss will not...
Andrew, you are not the fire.
He will not be in his normal 35 past the first hour segment, which is unfortunate because we had one last nugget of teaching and history lessons to learn about. But we'll push that over into the new year 2025 before we talk about a whole bunch of new stuff. But Robert Moss, an absolute gem of a guest all of 2024. If you missed any of his monthly segments, do not wait. Go back and listen to them starting tomorrow. They were all spectacular, much appreciated by me, listeners of the show, anybody who likes live fire and history or all of that. So happy to afford Robert Moss the evening off here tonight as we close out 2024 with the second Tuesday of the month regular guests. Then we'll move to the second hour. Last month, almost to the day, World Food Championships 2024 started in Indianapolis, Indiana, and joining me for a post-mortem on that is none other than our pal Mike McLeod of World Food Championships. And then closing the show tonight, we tried to have him in last week, but his mother-in-law ran into some health issues that took precedence over a slotted segment, so we bumped him back a week, and he will be here at 10:35. The founder of I Cook, You Look, Austin Dennis, will join us. Well over 200,000 of you follow him already on Instagram for live fire recipes and drink concoctions and all of that stuff. So that's how the show is laying out. Meathead first hour, then Mike McLeod at 10:14 and Austin Dennis 10:35. Don't forget you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapper Snaps, and the LinkedIns, all with the handle at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you tonight watching through one of our video streaming platforms. You go to facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. You can also watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where we have a new YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this: including all guests. Have you ever been to the World Food Championships? And currently 83% of you are saying no. Results from the poll question of last week: is Malcolm Reed the most influential person in live fire cooking today? And 80% of you said yes. Even his wife, Rochelle Reed, for the first time ever on the show last week, said yes, Malcolm is the most influential person in live fire. By the way, again, thank you to Rochelle Reed for joining me for 2 segments last week. If you missed it, if you're a big fan of the How to Barbecue Right podcast, make sure that you tune in to my show from last week. That would be the November 3rd issue of the show in the first hour, and get a whole glut of information on Rochelle Reed that perhaps you didn't even know about. So let's start here this evening. I want to give a special thanks and mention to my pals Len Hollywood Aberman and Jeff the Old Coot Cohen, who co-host the baseball and BBQ podcast, or barbecue podcast, depending on how you say it. Their most recent episode features none other than me, which is always fun. Getting to be interviewed versus me doing the interviewing. Len and Jeff have a great show. It is now in its 8th year, or perhaps they've crossed the threshold of their 8th year. They are now operating in their 9th year. It's always tricky on how that works with birthdays. But let's say between its 8th and 9th year, they are going strong. They cover both baseball and barbecue, or BBQ, depending on how you say it. They are prepared. They are well-researched. They are very professional. It's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to each week, especially since it covers 2 of my favorite topics, that being baseball and BBQ, or barbecue. So if you aren't currently subscribed to it and you like both topics, or maybe you just like baseball, or maybe you just like barbecue, I would say subscribe to it on only one side or the other. If you don't like baseball or barbecue, then just listen to it for the baseball interviews, because they have absolutely fascinating, entertaining, and engaging baseball interviews. Or if you like only barbecue, they have some very good barbecue-related interviews, really good finds. But the thing that you can count on the most is that whether it's baseball or barbecue, they are always well prepared. They are always asking great questions, and they are not softballers, not easy questions, not just looking to kiss ass. They like to dig down, drill down into it. And that's what I appreciate most about when I have the opportunity to do their shows, or when I'm asked. I think I've been on 3 times now, or 4 times. They did a wonderful, I don't remember off the top of my head if Meathead was a part of this or not, but they did a wonderful special edition podcast for me last year, when they made a huge Herculean effort to get me into, or nominate me for the Barbecue Hall of Fame. They had Malcolm Reed, I remember that. They had John Solberg, I remember that. Christy Vanover, maybe Meathead was a part of that. There was a lot of really big name people that were really talking me up, and I had nothing to do with it. It was of Jeff and Len's own accord. They wanted to make sure that they had some type of record of the biggest names saying, yes, Greg should get in. In fact, they asked me about it because I had not given them my feedback on having a show dedicated to me. Very flattering, makes me very uncomfortable at the same time, but meant a lot that they went out of their way to do a whole episode on me. Very nice that they think I should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame. We talked all about it. We talked about whether I would care if I got into the Barbecue Hall of Fame or not. We talked about Cleveland Guardians baseball, which, by the way, must be going in the tank very quickly, because we've just traded away our 3-time and perhaps 2-time platinum winning second baseman to the Blue Jays. Hey, vey. Sometimes I think I should just enjoy when the Guardians are doing well and we make it farther than we should. because time and time again, our Dolan ownership has proven they are really only worried about managing a payroll of X amount. They are not going to be spending over it. Even with Jose Ramirez, I don't want to get off into a tangent here, but Jose wanted to stay in Cleveland. Otherwise, he could have made perhaps $100 million more in his most recent contract signing. But for whatever reason, Jose wanted to stay here. He got a huge, or gave the Dolans a huge home team discount. And this year of Andres Jimenez's contract, it was going to start paying real money. What do the Dolans do? Offload. Who needs middle infielding anyway? Way overrated. I would have let Shane Bieber sign somewhere else and not traded Jimenez. I'm not the general manager. Anyway, Meathead's ready to go. By the way, thanks Len and Jeff, hosts of the Baseball and Barbecue, or BBQ podcast, depending on how you say it. Before we get to Meathead, feast your eyes on this bad boy. The Schwank Grill. Oh, yes. Infrared burner technology. Only Schwank can deliver it the way they're bringing it to market. Very popular. A lot of people in the backyard are using this grill. A lot of people in the backyard are putting it into the backs of their trucks, vans, and SUVs and taking it on tailgating situations because it's ultra portable. I mean, look at that thing. Cute as a button. Bring your propane bottle. Take your grill. Away you go. You can make everything that you see on the screen right there. Lobster tails, asparagus, Brussels sprouts. Of course, all the proteins in the world. It can handle it. But you want deals. Oh, I missed out on the Black Friday deal. Don't worry. If you purchase a Schwank grill right now, you can get what they call a Christmas bundle. Now, you might be asking yourself, what does that mean? It means you buy the grill. You will also now get a free grill cover. That's a premium grill cover, by the way. Costs real money. You also get a free pizza spoon or stone. You also get a free pizza peel. You also get a free apron. You also get a free cutting board. It's like Oprah. Everybody gets something for free. All you have to do is buy the grill. No coupon code needed. Just head on over to schwankgrill.com. That's SCHWANKSCHWANK grills.com, and then purchase the grill. They have a natural gas and an LP. I recommend the LP unless you like to hook it up to your house. And then, with the purchase of the grill, you immediately get for free the grill cover, the pizza peel, the pizza stone, the apron, and a cutting board. What could be better than that? Well, a visit from Meathead, of course. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You visit cookinpellets.com to see their products, and then go to Lowe's.com or Walmart.com or Amazon.com to purchase same great products, but even better shipping rates. It's the good folks over at cookinpellets.com. My first guest tonight has done it. He has created the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling website. He is a best-selling author, a Barbecue Hall of Famer, and a Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Famer. And believe it or not, he is actually here. It's Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Meathead, it's been 2 months. Here you are. You're looking better and younger than ever. How is everything?
I missed you, and I missed the Centralites, and I'm sorry I missed a couple of bad months there. A couple of weird things going on, but it's good to be back, and I'm glad to be back on a regular basis, and looking forward to talking with you tonight. And by the way, I absolutely love that shirt from Pits and Spits. I've never seen it before. I have missed a couple of shows here. That is fantastic.
Yes,
and one more thing.
Yes.
That Schwank grill, I have cooked with those infrared burners. I have had a competitor of the Schwank grill, similar, and I have a gas grill that has these infrared. They're little ceramic. They look like honeycombs, and they're amazing. They generate a ton of infrared. They produce more energy than charcoal. And we know charcoal is more energy than a normal gas grill, and that's why it's great for searing. These things are unmatched when it comes to searing a steak. Fantastic. I'm glad they're supporting you.
Meathead, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests. So why not ask you? Have you ever been to the World Food Championships, yes or no?
Yes, I was there about 5 or 6 years ago when they were down on the Gulf of Mexico coast. And it was a lot. They were in their early phases. They were like 3 or 4 years in. And it was a lot of fun. There's some really creative cooks down there. I need to get back there. I need to get down, and I learned a trick or two, and the food was fantastic. I got to judge. Cool thing.
11% of the YouTube voting public are saying, yes, they have been to the World Food Championships. So overwhelmingly, the answer is no. I happen to be one of those as well. It was very close this year in Indianapolis, but I had a day job engagement over that weekend in Tampa, so couldn't go. But I could go there next year. They'll be in Indianapolis for at least the next handful of years. So looking forward to getting out there.
The problem is a lot of these cooking competitions are really not set up for tourists, for viewers, for fun. I don't know how they're running it now, but they did have a setup. They had a viewing stand, an area where people could watch. It's, the real fun is, as I was able to do, is to walk amongst the cooks and, hey, what are you doing there? That kind of thing. Or taste the food. And, that's the problem with any of the competition, KCBS, the Memphis team, the Memphis cook-offs. And that's too bad. I wish somebody would come up with a great way for the audience to get more involved.
Meathead, the topic tonight is something that you have been working on for the last 478 years, which is book writing, right? How do we get a book to market? So we're going to hammer it all or at least as much as we can here over the next couple segments, because I think every so often a listener is an expert in something. It doesn't have to be just barbecue and grilling, of course. They could be aficionados or passionados in any type of subculture. There's an audience for everything. And they might say, hey, I think I could write a book. But it's great to think that. But how do you actually do that? So why not go all the way back to start from the beginning, which I think would be, when do you know you should be thinking about, I could write a book on something?
Well, that's a good question. And yes, I thought that it would be fun tonight to kind of walk through the process that it takes to get a cookbook to market, but it's pretty much the same formula for anything. I mean, let's say you're a photographer or you're a geographer or something, or just you want to write a book. Well, you need to know a lot about the subject, and you need to look at the books that are out there. And this is really important. When you first come up with an idea for a book, you have to create something that is different than what's out there already. You need differentiation. The book has to be unique. I mean, my books, for instance, have a very strong science bent. And, let's see if I can get this camera to work for me here. Okay, you can see a couple of big IKEA bookshelves. Those are all barbecue books. I mean, that's incredible. I have maybe 100 or 150 barbecue books. Go to Amazon, look up barbecue books. So I had to come up with an idea that was different than everything out there. And then you have to have, and the world of publishing is a lot different today than it used to be. Used to be, you wrote a book and the publisher found a market for it, and the publisher pushed it and marketed it. Now they want you to have what they call a platform. And in my case, it's a website. I have a platform. We have 1 to 2 million. We've had as many as 4 million people come during a month of July a couple of years ago to this website. So as you've called it, the heavily trafficked. Yeah, we got a lot of bodies moving through there, so we can promote it and we can tell people about it. Plus, we have a Pitmaster Club with 15,000 paying members. So there's a platform, and they want you to have a platform. So if you don't have a website, or if you don't have a blog, or if you don't have a store or something, they're not going to give you a lot of attention, the publishers. Now, you have two paths you can follow. You can go get a publisher. Now, I'm with HarperCollins, which is one of the top 5 publishers in the world. And, but there's a lot of smaller publishers out there. Or you can publish it yourself. Now, if you go with a major publisher, they do all the layout, the design, the cover, the marketing materials, the printing, the shipping. They sell to the bookstores. They sell to Amazon. They produce the digital images. But you only make $2 or $3 a copy. Well, my last book sold 250,000 copies, so that helped a lot. But if you do it yourself, you can make up to $20, $30 a copy. It depends on the cover price. But you can make $20 a copy if you do it yourself. And there's a lot of interesting tools out there for publishing a book yourself. I'm not going to get into that too much because I did research it when I was planning my second book, the one that's just coming out in May. It's finished. It's at the printer now. It's called The Meathead Method. And that's it right there. And it'll be out in May. But I thought about doing self-publishing, but it's just a lot of work.
I remember years ago, Meathead, that you said on this show you were going to change the game. You were going to break the mold. You were going to do all this stuff. And here we are in traditional publishing. So it must have been a lot more work.
What happened? A couple of things happened. First of all, I got overwhelmed by the amount of work involved, and some of these tools for self-publishing were kind of half-baked, and they weren't. It wasn't really as easy as that I thought it would be. And the HarperCollins made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So we went with HarperCollins. So, and this is the traditional route if you're publishing anyhow, because they'll get you in the bookstores. They'll get you a position in Amazon. If you're self-publishing, you got to call on the bookstores. And it's not all Barnes and Noble. There are a lot of independent bookstores, and they're influential. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of thumping on the concrete to get people to carry the book. So I chose to go with a publishing house. And the next part of this process, if you've got the right idea and you think it'll be unique and it's differentiated, you need an agent. Now, you can go direct to, HarperCollins or Knopf or a major publisher and pitch them direct, but it's hard. And most of them, they're buried in proposals. They've got stacks of proposals on their desk or in their email. And they really listen to the agents. I used Sally Eckes from the Eckes Group. She's tremendous. She's a specialist in cookbooks. She sold both my books with one phone call. But that's not always the case. Often you get turned down many, many times. But they take 15% right off the top. The publisher writes a check and sends it not to you, but to the agent. The agent takes their 15% off and sends you the balance. But they'll work with you because to get the book sold to a publisher, you have to have a proposal. And book proposals are very formulaic. There's a very specific way to do them. There's a very specific number of things they have to have in them. You need to have a title. Now, the title might change. The publisher might think of a better title or push you in a different direction.
As
You got to have a concept. You got to have your biography. Yeah, you got to have your biography. You should have a table of contents or an outline or some sort of view of what's going to be in there. Maybe some samples of the text so that you can prove that you know how to write. You need to outline some sort of a marketing plan, and you got to show them you have a platform. You need a competitive analysis. When I did my first book pitch, I had to look around at all the books out there, Stephen Reichlin and all the other guys, and explain the angle that they take versus the angle that I'm taking. Perhaps some testimonials from important people. So you've got to prepare, and an agent will hold your hand. An agent will take you through the proposal process, polish your proposal, and then he or she will present it to the publishers. And they'll pick the publisher they think that it fits with. They may not go with a publisher who's got a lot of barbecue books, for example. Or they might. Let's say you want to do photography. They may take a publisher whose specialty is photography. So, that's agents are really good. A lot of people think they want to go without an agent. It costs you 15%, but I think they're valuable and they're important. They also will negotiate the contract. And the contract is complex because it includes deadlines and hardcover and softcover rights, digital rights, foreign language rights, audiobook rights, who pays for the artwork, who pays for the marketing and the book tour, what is done with unsold copies. Some publishers make you pay for those unsold copies or a portion of them. How many free copies you get to send to your friends and family and to the media. That's all in the book contract. Of course, the advance is included in there. Now, this is really important. You make a percentage of the sales of the book. Let's say it's $3, okay? And you're going to make this percentage, and they give you an advance. It comes from the old days when people had to quit their job in order to write a book. They were going to starve if they did. So the publisher would give you an advance. They give you 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. And that advance would allow you to devote a year, 2 or 3, whatever it takes to write the book. But that's an advance against your royalties. Royalties are what that $2 or $3 you're going to get a copy. So you don't get royalties at all for probably the first year or two while you earn out your advance. So if they give you a $10,000 advance and you are making $2 a copy, you've got to sell 5,000 copies before you get any royalties. So and advances can be very generous. I mean, I know they can go up to $500,000, or more. I mean, big time politicians get millions. So that agent will help you negotiate the advance. Then you got to go to work, and that ain't easy. You got to set yourself a schedule. You got to meet your deadlines. You got to know when you got to do a chapter a month, or have half the book done by June or whatever. You start off with a table of contents. What do you want in the book? And then you start writing. And you got to get a photographer or an artist or both. I have both. Excuse me. I did all the photography with the exception of a few product shots for grills and stuff that come from the manufacturer. But there's over 400 photographs in this book that I did myself. I'm lucky. I did my master's in photography, so I can do that, and I take pride in them. And they're by the way, the photography in this book is the best I've ever done. It's really beautiful. I'm very proud of it. But you need also. I use an artist. I have an artist. Luckily, she lives right across the street from me. She's an artist for the Brookfield Zoo, and she does all the illustrations. I try to have illustrations that explain, some of the physics and chemistry. So you got to book them and you got to pay them. And that is either something that the publisher will assist with, or you got to do it yourself.
So how was that bridge? How was that bridge crossed? Do you say, "Hey, going to hire the lady across the street. She's a professional illustrator, and you're going to pick up the dime? Or do they tell you if you want to hire somebody other than you, or you want additional illustration, photography, whatever, that's going to be on you to pay for that out of pocket?
That's all negotiated in the contract. So if you think you need an artist and a photographer, then your agent will say, okay, in addition to the advance, we need $50,000 for the photographer and $5,000 for the artist, or something like that. And then it goes back and forth. Well, we're not paying $50,000 for a photographer. We'll give you $25,000. I mean, I just went through that with the PR. The book is finished. It's at the printer. We're starting now to plan marketing, and the book publisher is paying $5,000 of the expense of the publicist, and I'm paying $19,000. I'm paying $19,000 for the public relations agent.
Why wouldn't they pay for it? They want book sales, right?
They do. I mean, that's just the way it negotiated out. They gave me a pretty generous advance, and their answer was, take it out of your advance.
Yeah, but they can't do. I mean, your advance, aside from working, should be a reward. They've hired or they've contracted a expert. They've contracted somebody that can move 250,000 books the last time around. Certainly, that's past performance isn't indicative of future results, but I think it's a pretty good idea that the book is going to do pretty well. So it's a little ludicrous to say, here's $750,000, and oh, by the way, every time you go ask for something, you got to pay it out of this advance. Then it's not so great because you're eating out of it.
Next time, I'll let you negotiate my contract.
Of course, it's ridiculous. I've said that for years.
It was give and take, and I have a good relationship with them. And I started at the outset here saying the world of publishing has changed. It used to be all of that was the publisher's responsibility. They did all the sales and marketing and everything. It's not true anymore. They want you to have a platform, and I'm going to end up. We're planning the book tour now, and I'm not still sure how much they're going to kick in on the book tour. I'm going to probably go visit places like Seattle and Portland and San Francisco and LA.
Does it pay? Like,
New
does
York,
that pay
Boston.
off though? Like, you're gonna do all this stuff.
This is something I'm really questioning. Yeah, that you've asked a really interesting question. I had lunch with Christopher Kimball from Milk Street a few months ago.
Big fan.
Really great guy. And he was here in the Chicago area doing a book signing at a local bookstore for 50 people. And he probably sold 40 copies of the book. And the question is it worth you to fly here from Boston, take a hotel, get a cab to the bookstore, spend an evening, do your song and dance, sign a bunch of books, and then go home? And he says it is because there's ripples that go out from it. And of course, you make friends with the bookstore, so they carry the book, and when it runs out, they reorder. I'm not absolutely convinced, and we're starting to work this through. I'm 75 years old now.
What?
And, I don't.
You don't look
like,
a day over 71.
Thank you. I don't feel like spending. I swore to my wife last year I was not going to lose another summer. That she's a master gardener. I want to play in the garden with her. I want to hang around the house and cook, and I want to go to Paris and more than I want to go to Portland. And so we're negotiating. We'll see. But there are some great bookstores. There are culinary bookstores out there now. So I want to visit a few of those. We'll see. We're working on that now. This is where the book was finished. It was at the last edits. There's 3 steps of editing. First of all, I send it to what I call first readers.
Wait,
there are about a half a dozen
Hold
people
on a second.
whom I really.
Let's save that for after the break.
Yeah, sure.
I do want to say, from a business perspective, I don't know how much a plane ticket costs to Portland if you're there for a day or two. So let's say hotel on top of that, and then you're going to be eating unless they take you out. If you're selling 40 books times $3 is $120. Allow me to flex my multiplication skills right off the top of my head. I don't see where that pays off. Even if you sell 20 more books, that's 60 books at $3 a pop. It's $180. You barely covered your hotel. So
but maybe while I'm there, I visit the morning show on the local TV station.
All right.
Maybe in the audience,
Okay.
the audience of the 40 people is a blogger or somebody who writes for the local newspaper. You just, I mean, but I tell you, the last book, I did a lot of radio interviews.
Yeah.
And I think they're much more effective. I can sit right here. Thanks to you, I have a good microphone.
You're welcome.
And I can talk, as you know, and we'll do radio interviews as much as possible. And so we'll see.
All right. Stand by. We'll come right back to you. It's Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. We're talking all about books. I don't know what the hell is going on. It's not Meathead's fault, but I'm not picking up his audio on my side. I can hear everything, but it's just in the audio recorder. Which means it's going to be a pain in the ass at the end of the show, and I'm going to have to get the audio and download that. Son of a bitch. And I can't even figure out what the hell the problem is. However, tonight's, what do they call it? Tonight's stylist, I don't know, outfitter, Pits and Spits right here. You can see there's grills right here, and the burger there. This is a hot shirt. Pits and Spits right here. If you're serious about your grilling game, you need to check out the latest from Pits and Spits. We're kicking things off with the griddle. The gas griddle combines the power of traditional grilling with the versatility of flat top. Engineered with precision, crafted from top quality materials, the versatile griddle is set to revolutionize your outdoor cooking experience. Constructed of 304 marine-grade stainless steel and a fully welded design, the griddle comes with 4 burners to accurately manage your heat zones and get blistering hot with 80,000 BTUs. Made with the Pits and Spits signature quality, it's going to last for generations. Now, if you're building an outdoor kitchen, you have to check out the built-in pellet grill. Designed for the discerning grill master who demands top-tier performance, the grill is the masterpiece and centerpiece of any serious outdoor kitchen. From low and slow smoking to high heat searing, this grill can handle it all. Brisket, ribs, pizzas, veggies, you name it, this grill can cook it. With Pits and Spits legendary craftsmanship, you can be confident it's built to last, with stainless steel construction and a design that's reliable as it is versatile. So if you're ready to take your cooking to the next level, head on over to pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and use promo code BBQ Central for a free spice pack with orders of $500 or more. We're back with Meathead right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion being brought to you by Fireboard, makers of Fireboard 2, Fireboard Pro, Fireboard Spark, Fireboard Beacon, and of course the new wireless Fireboard Pulse. When you use the Fireboard app, you have total access to all your devices anywhere in the world where there's an internet connection or cellular connection. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. Great gift ideas right there. As we are rejoined by Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Look at him with the Fireboard, too.
That's the Fireboard, too.
What
a cool tool.
You got the S1G
I got the antenna here.
Yes, right.
I got most of the accessories, not all of them. It's a cool tool. And those guys, they've thought ahead. It's like, let's buy a house. Well, there's just the two of us, so we only need one bedroom. We're going to have a baby. You need 2 bedrooms. Or we're going to have 2 babies. You need 3 bedrooms. Or we're going to have a man cave. They've built all this in. They planned it from the scratch. And so they're adding on all these cool features that are sort of part of the house.
I think between them and ThermoWorks, they have really thought out what I'm calling an ecosystem of products that are all able to work and interface with the main, flagship product. But you can put beacons wherever, and they have the sub 1 gigahertz technology, so you can go deep underground, you can go far distances, you have connectivity. I mean, they are really doing a bang-up job and rating highly across a bunch of places that aren't bought and paid for. They just work. Very good.
Yeah, well, you're a barbecue expert, and I supposedly am too. And now that I'm going to be out there again promoting a book, people interview me, and I get interviewed, a lot of radio shows and TV shows. And the first thing they say is, well, what's the most important secret? And that's your answer.
Yep.
Thermometer, 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 thermometer. I mean, I can't believe when I first started doing this back in publishing the website back in the early 2000s, I used to talk about thermometers, and there were these old coots who would pound their, you don't need a thermometer, you just touch it. That's changed. My wife recently retired as a food safety expert from the Food and Drug Administration, and she once told me that she believes AmazingRibs.com, my website, has sold more. We don't sell them. We promote them. We send people off. We review. We actually have a electrical engineer who tests thermometers and reviews them.
Right.
And she said that we are responsible for the sale of more thermometers than the FDA. And I'm very proud of that, because not only does a thermometer make your cooking better, but it makes you safer. So, but we don't have to talk to your audience about this. They know that. I've done my job. So have you.
You are talking about first edits. We're handing stuff in. Now we're getting down to brass tacks here. So, what do edits look like? And no, I just woke up. So, what about first edits and first readers and feedback and how all that works?
Yeah. Well, first readers are a half a dozen friends whom I think really know the subject, and I send it to them because they find I make dumb mistakes. I know that'll shock you that I actually am human and make mistakes, but I do, and I'm confessing here. And they catch them for me, and they're really great. Greg Blonder among them. I mean, we have talked about him. I think he's been a guest on the show. He's a professor at Boston University, a food scientist and a physicist, and brilliant. And he was a collaborator on my first book. And he and I had Tamar Haspel, who writes about food safety for the Washington Post, and others. So they read it first, and they give me content feedback. And I'm not worried about spelling, grammar, that sort of stuff yet. Then it goes off to the editors at HarperCollins, and they go through it, and they do the copy editing. So now they're after spelling, grammar, and they're looking for flow. Well, this idea here belongs over there, and that sort of thing. And then finally, the editor who really comes in from 30,000 feet and tries to digest the whole concept and says, well, I think that the lamb section ought to go after the pork section, and that sort of thing. And it actually goes through 3 edits. At least I did go through 3 edits at HarperCollins. And by the time we're done, we've got a pretty darn good, solid product. Now, if you're not a professional writer, and I am, I went to journalism school. I've been a writer all my life. You need to get yourself your own editor before you send it off to the publisher. You need to have a friend who is an English major or a magazine writer or editor go through your manuscript and make sure that it works. And then they'll beat it up. And there was a lot of tug of war. There's going to be, if you're not a professional writer, you've got to get your ego out of the way. I've worked with a lot of really enthusiastic amateur writers on this website and other websites, and they get really married to their words and, no, you can't delete that sentence. It's poetry. And you just cannot have that.
Meathead, that was you, of course. Are you kidding?
No.
Yes.
No, I don't have that.
You're the guy that wanted, you were going back to the publisher saying this book's got to be a 2 or a 3 book series. Who are you talking to?
Oh, well, that's a different story, but I'm talking about editing actually the content. Yeah, there's a backstory here, and I don't want to dwell upon it since we're talking about general book publishing. But I sat down to write this book, and I just barfed up everything I could think of that belongs in this book. And when I was done, I had twice as much content as the publisher wanted. I had about 300,000 words, and they wanted 140. So I went to them and I said, "Hey, let's do a 2-book set. Never been done. It'll set, 2 books on the web on the store shelf. It'll scream definitive." And they said, "No, we can't." They didn't think the marketing people, particularly, just said they didn't think that the public would swallow a $60 or $70 2-book set. So, but there was a big fight over that. But there's never been a big fight over my writing, my words, my content. No, that editor comes back, and I rarely override their suggestions. You just can't let your ego get in the way. But I now have about 140,000 words in a folder on my computer that, who knows, God forbid.
A la book number 3.
I told you, Greg, after I finished book number 1, if you ever hear of me writing a book again, come down to Chicago and shoot me. And I'm still alive, so it's your fault. But who knows? There may
it's
be
still
a third.
highly illegal to kill people, Meathead. I don't know if you remember.
Oh,
I
geez,
couldn't possibly.
That's too
I
bad.
couldn't possibly.
So in any case, it goes through the mill, the editing, and then they do design, the cover design. They keep insisting on putting my ugly face on the cover, and I really have objected. I am a photographer. I designed some gorgeous covers, and they keep wanting. And the last book came out, and it was the #1 best-selling cookbook on Amazon for a month, and then it was passed by another book. And I was #2 for several months. And the book that passed me was Chrissy Teigen's book. And there she is on the cover, leaning forward, unbuttoned halfway down her chest. How the hell do I beat that?
Maybe you should take a hint, Meathead.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
hey.
I got Photoshop out. I'm pretty good with Photoshop, and I Photoshopped Arnold Schwarzenegger on my body and sent it to them, and they rejected it. And I just don't know why.
Too bad.
But in any case, now you're into the final stages. The cover design, you might want to forward. I was very lucky on my last book, Kenji Lopez Alt. I'm hopeful that many of your people know who Kenji is. He's a brilliant cook. He's an author also. Wrote for Serious Eats, New York Times. And he's very much into food science and the chemistry and physics like I am. And he wrote a great foreword to the books. This time, I was very lucky, and you've been showing the cover on the book. I don't know if anybody noticed, but up at the top, it says Forward by Alton Brown. And what a coup that is. Alton has been a reader of my work. His producer once told me that he actually, when he did his barbecue show, he checked with our website. And I've had a correspondence with him over the years. In fact, I just had some email back and forth with him today. And he wrote the foreword to this book, and that's just totally flattering. And it helps. I mean, to have Alton Brown endorsing the book says that maybe it's a book of consequence.
I mean, it's not a contest, Meathead, but I'm best friends with Michael Simon, so I kind of win.
Yeah, well, Michael Simon, I have a recording of him on another radio show.
It's my show.
Where they asked
It's my show, Meathead. It was my show.
No.
Yes.
No. Well.
How dare you?
Well, the recording that I have, I don't know about a recording on your show, but recording I have
you
is from
told
Jeff
me
Tracy's
to ask
show.
him about it, and he said Meathead's book. It was my show.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I
what
forgot.
What the hell?
You're right. You're right.
How many cups of wine is
on
that?
Both Jeff Tracy and your show,
Jeff Tracy.
Michael Simon said nice things about my book. So, yeah, he said it's the best book out there. So I'm flattered. So in any case, I mentioned the PR agent. We got a PR agent. We're writing press releases now. We had to write copy for the book on Amazon so that it sells on Amazon. Got to write sales materials. Got to do a marketing plan. Got to plan the book tour, and so on.
What's your marketing budget
author,
right now? How much are you planning to sink into it, whether you're getting help or not?
this is going to cause anybody who has business expertise like you real agita here. I have never been big on budgets. I don't sit down and say, let's put X number of dollars into marketing the book. When they come to me and they say it's going to cost you 19 grand for the publicist, I scratch my eye. I said, can we afford this? Well, all right, we got to do it. And we spend the money. So I don't have a budget for the marketing. We'll spend what we have to spend when the opportunities present themselves. It's just the way I do business. I know that's wrong, but I just don't know any other way. And I've never, ever been.
I would rather have this conversation off air, but since we're on air, I think, I'll cut you a deal, $35,000 for a 2-month run of publishing the book. I mean, I think it's win-win all day long. I'll send over an invoice tomorrow.
Yeah. So that's where we're at now. The book is at the printer. The cover is done. Everything is done. We're planning the marketing. And the last thing I wanted to mention is if you're an author and you've got a book, is you've got to decide when you do book tours, when you do events. I mean, I used to go to a couple of barbecue competitions, and I would order boxes of books wholesale from the publisher, and I would take them to the barbecue competition, set up a table, and sell books. And, I could sell them. I buy them at wholesale, sell them at retail. I would sign copies. So I'd make like $10 a copy plus my royalty, $2-3 and that was okay. But carrying books with you around the country is like carrying bricks. They weigh a ton, and I just got tired of throwing them in the luggage and checking them out and schlepping them to the hotel and stuff. And I don't do it anymore. When I get to a hotel or when I go to a town, I arrange, if I can, in advance with a local bookstore. And I just say, buy a couple of boxes of the books, come down to the book signing, or we have the event at a bookstore. Come to the book signing, sell the books, keep the profit. I'll sign them. And if you have too many, you can either put them on your shelves or you can send them back to the publisher. So I don't bother selling the books. If somebody called me up today and said, sell me a book, I can't do it. I've got maybe 10 copies sitting around here, and I don't want to be in the retail business for anything.
Do you charge for your autograph?
No.
No.
There is a local bookstore I have worked with that has signed copies, and that way I go down there. They're just about 10 miles away. I drive in there. They buy 50 copies, and I sign them all, and they sell them, and I link to them on my website. So if you want a signed copy, you can buy them from them, and they do sell them at full retail. Amazon typically discounts. In fact, last week, my first book, which retails for $35, 250,000 copies sold, New York Times bestseller, called by Southern Living the best book on barbecue and by many others, was on sale on Amazon for half price.
Really?
$16. $16. Now, I went over there the other day, and I bought some because I'm doing an event at Wanamaker's this Saturday. I think it's this Saturday. Wanamaker's is a great little backyard garden barbecue store. And I'm going down there to sign books. And I bought some copies to take down there for him because he couldn't get enough. And they were up to around $20, I think. So,
don't you think you'd have a good show at that Eataly?
I'd love to do Eataly.
Yeah.
I love
big shot. You can't call in.
You've been to Eataly in Chicago, haven't you?
You took me. Remember?
That's right.
It was like 100 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything, Greg. I'm getting old. My memory's failing me.
I only have a few memories of meeting anybody in my life, and you're most of them.
I didn't know I was that memorable.
But
Eataly is, for your listeners who don't know, there are multiple branches of Eataly around the country. I don't know where they all are, but there's one here in Chicago.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's like 4 stories. It's like Macy's. It's huge. It's like it's a big department store, but it's all culinary. It's all food. I mean, great wine department. Olive oils.
I've never seen a cheese selection like we saw.
Oh my God, the cheeses and the cured meats, the prosciutto and all that stuff. And and you can just buy sandwiches and sit down. They have restaurants. If you ever come to Chicago on a visit, of course you want to do all the museums and all the regular touristy stuff. Put Italy on your itinerary. It's just a blast.
Meathead, anything coming up that we should know about before the new year or before 2024 comes to an end?
Gosh, no. I mentioned I'm going to be at Wanamaker's. Let me just double check the calendar here. It's Saturday this week at 10 a.m. If you're in the Midwest or the Chicago area, they're in Downers Grove. And it's a really nice store. They have just about anything you'd ever need for barbecue and grilling. I'll be signing books there and answering questions. No, I mean, my team, I should share this bit of information. It's I haven't. I think you're aware of it, but I haven't made it public yet. But I did already give away. I'm 75. I'm trying to slow down a little bit. I'm the classic entrepreneur. Greg, you know what it's like. You talk to them every day. These guys and we work 7 days a week. We work 10, 12 hours a day. We work on Christmas. We don't take vacations. I don't even know what a vacation is. And this is just, I watch the Shark Tank and all these other entrepreneur business related shows. And I want to reach through the screen and grab some of them by the throat and say, because they go up there and they get shot down. And then they go backstage and the camera's on them. And so what do you think? I'm going ahead with it. I'm going to do it anyhow. You're going to lose your house. You're going to lose your wife. You're going to lose everything you've got. Just listen to these guys. And even if they say yes, you're not going to see your kids. It's just being an entrepreneur. We're elevated to being the great saviors of American business. And it's a killer. And I don't know if I'd do it again. If I had to go over, I've had opportunities in my career to take a high paying job and work 5 days a week, 9 to 5. I might do it, with healthcare and everything. The holidays are coming up and I've been turning over more and more responsibility. Your friend and my friend, Clint Cantwell, is president of the company now. I am not. I'm CEO. I still control the checkbook. But Clint and my team, Max, the grill tester, and Husky, who runs the Pitmaster Club, and those guys, they're doing most of the work now. I still have the ability to oversee and veto, but they're doing a bang-up job running most of the website. And I'm going to focus on the book and selling it and try to cut back from 60, 70 hours a week to 20 hours a week.
Yes, well, you've been saying that for 10 years, so I'm going to go ahead and bet against that. I love the sentiment, but I'm also somebody that likes to win my bets when I place them. So anyway, look, this is Meathead. I appreciate all the insight on the book. And the third book is the easiest one. It's there. It's ready to go. I would be calling that agent immediately and saying, hey, oh, by the way, let's kind of get this thing balled up and ready to package. And that'll be the easiest one, and it'll be the funnest one that we talk about in about 2 years from now when you're ready to take that one. So, Meathead, have a great holiday. I appreciate
you too.
Everything, the segments we've done for the last 50 years, bringing barbecue to where it is this day, and I look forward to 2025.
It's always fun to talk to you and your Centralites, and I hope I didn't bore them with this inside baseball stuff on book publishing. But I know your audience, and I'll bet anything. There's a half a dozen listeners out there that have a book in their desk drawer, and I don't know what to do with it. So maybe I've given them some insight.
Meathead, always appreciate it. We'll see you next year.
Next year.
There he is. Meathead right there. AmazingRibs.com if you didn't know. I did fix the sound on the other end. That's not going to help the first hour here, but that's all right. It will help the second hour, which is fine. I'm probably not going to get this. So we'll just stop that, and I'll go ahead and catch up on a little shot of business here. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they are fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that you can get rip-roaring hot for the high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Hello. Two-zone cooking is very important to both professional and backyard cooks. It's the best way to manage a fire, cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker isn't very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill and their game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. When you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo. So you're only limited by your culinary imagination. All the accessories that you want, only sold through dealers, by the way. PrimoGrill.com. Find a dealer near you once you hit the website, PrimoGrill.com. Who's ready for a Primo? I am ready to cook on a Primo this coming weekend. It promises to be at least 40 degrees. Smoking Joe, man. Look at you. How's your brother doing with that food truck of yours that's his? Where's the update? We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Meathead for taking us through the first hour, talking about all things what it takes to write a book. I agree with him. There's plenty of you out there that probably think you have the wherewithal to write a book, but you don't know how to do it, so you haven't looked any further of going into it. Well, here you go. Now you've got all the different ideas and concepts and bits of information. I'm sure you could send an email to Meathead or give him a call. He'd be more than happy to continue that conversation with you as well. He's the sharer. I'll give him that. He might be 75, but he likes to share. All right, as I had mentioned, we have the sound issue on my side fixed, so that's going to be great for hour number 2. Not so great for hour number 1, because for whatever reason, it was not recording the other side of that conversation. So if you found Meathead annoying, then maybe that was a good thing. But I can't have that in my audio podcast. So little tinkering after the show, but we'll get it all right. The second hour will be just fine. Refresh your libations. We are headed to that second hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.